This is a 69 News special report.
This just in. Can ramen noodles cause cancer? This story is later tonight. But first, welcome to Bearcat Talk, and my name is Sydney Johnston. Special news report today. We're going to be talking about the Laos conflict. Not many of you have really heard about this. We have brought in Ann Schwartz, a political analyst and specialist, to elaborate more on the detail of the conflict in Laos.
This whole problem gets down to the fact that for the last year or so, we've been heavily de-escalating the undeclared war in Vietnam. At the same time, we've been heavily escalating not only the undeclared but the undisclosed war in Laos. And this is the type and character of development in a democracy that I think could be very, very dangerous indeed.
So, can you describe this for us, Ian?
Laos is a landlocked country in Southeast Asia, bordered by Burma and China to the northwest, Vietnam to the east, Cambodia to the south, and Thailand to the west. Since 1975, it has been ruled by a Marxist communist government. Its population was estimated to be around 6.8 million as of July 2014. Laos is a one-party socialist republic. It espouses Marxism and is governed by a single-party communist Politburo, dominated by military generals. As a result of this military-led government control, Laos remains one of the most corrupt countries in the world. This has deterred foreign investments and created major problems with the rule of law, including the nation's ability to enforce contract and business regulation. Laos, being one of the dominoes in the US-backed domino theory, which avows that if one nation-state becomes communist, then all in close proximity will likely follow, provided an express avenue of strategic military convenience and importance in the fight against communist ideology more generally, and their respective communist state more specifically. In 1975, with the failure of the Vietnam War and consequential loss of American support, the communist-driven Pathet Lao were able to take control of the government. Subsequently, the Hmong people, who supported a constitutional republic and constitutional rights, especially those who had participated in the military conflict, were then singled out for political retribution and violence. As a result, the government of Laos has been accused of committing genocide against the ethnic Hmong people. Approximately 100,000 were killed out of a population of 400,000, or 1 in 4. These atrocities included massacres, terror bombings, and mass rape. The ethnic Hmong who were not slaughtered remained in Laos, and over 30,000 were sent to re-education camps as political prisoners, enduring indeterminate sentences and hard labor, which invariably only fueled the propensity for the ethnic Hmong to view themselves as a separate people, an image shattered, marginalized, and forgotten. Still, a silver lining persists. 130,000 Hmong immigrated to the United States, and another 100,000 fled to Thailand in search of political freedom. Contemporarily speaking, today a certain portion of ethnic Hmong live in relative peace in cities and small villages. However, many remain internally displaced in remote parts of Laos, hiding from almost certain state retaliation. Despite the ethnic Hmong posing no military threat, the Lao government has continued to characterize these people as bandits and barbarians, and therefore continue to attack their positions using rape as a weapon, and often killing and injuring women and children. Most atrocities committed occur during food resupply in the thick jungles of Laos, a result of this impossible permanent settlement.
Also in the studio today, we have political psychologist Elizabeth Baxter.
The conflict between the Hmong people and the Pathet Laos stems from an inability for the two sides to empathize with one another. The Pathet Laos view the Hmong as barbaric rogues who dissented from conformity. The Hmong refused to conform to the communist regime because they feared losing their identity as Hmong people by the eradication of their culture and the banning of their religion. The Hmong view the Pathet Laos as homegrown imperialists, superior in technological capability and cultural values. Therefore, intent is viewed as exploitive, often purported by a few elite. The Pathet Laos treatment of the Hmong and their denial of their identity as a separate people led to the Hmong being depersonalized by both the Pathet Laos and the Hmong people themselves. The United States got involved because they viewed the Pathet Laos as degenerates, because they were communists. At the time the United States first got involved in the conflict, they associated any communist group as being equally threatening as the Soviet Union or China.
They call themselves the world's forgotten refugees. Their escape from a Thai detention camp was a last-ditch effort to get international attention. About 5,000 Hmong from Laos defied Thai security and forced their way out of the Hui Nam Khao camp in the early hours of Friday morning.
And now on to the human rights activist, Miriam El-Ghafi.
I feel like we get all caught up in the politics of things and forget that there are actual people living in these events. The conflict in Laos took years to be resolved, and even now we cannot safely say that it's been fully resolved. The country of Laos, until this day, is the most heavily bombed country per capita in the world. Can you believe that? How does that pass any kind of human rights? It all started by a conflict over who gets to be in power. But then again, that's how all conflicts begin. The Hmong people want a constitutional monarchy, right? But the Pathet Lao prefer communist state. How does that work out? Ideologically, these two political prescriptions are historically difficult to reconcile. So obviously we don't expect a common ground to be found. As a human rights activist, I believe the United States should provide the Hmong people or the people of Laos with economic aid. But neither side should be given military aid. And that actually goes to a lot of other conflicts going on right now. Whether it's in Nigeria, Bosnia, the Middle East, or a European country, foreign interference should be limited to resource aid like food or such. And the rest should be the people's determination to achieve a stable government. Now, some of the Hmong people are living in peace, while others are still living in fear of government reprisals. How does that work out? I feel like it's about time that we start learning from history and our past mistakes, because as long as we don't, history is going to keep repeating itself over and over and over.
Currently, there is no notable confrontation within the Laos borders. A right-wing insurgency with foreign support has appeared to have continued onto 2008. Pockets of active, armed resistant combats still do exist. Although plots for a revolution in the Laos initiated by the Hmong citizens that live in the U.S. have been alleged, no evidence has been found.